the other day on my way to work, and he said those same words. We're going to see some things, and we can't get faint-hearted in these last moments of this wicked ruler's kingdom. So I want to play this video real quick before I get the scriptures. It's about a minute and 45 seconds, real quick. And this is from Chicago. It's happened a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken. So let's play this video real quick.
To one woman who actually lives in this building, and she says she was detained by ICE agents overnight, and she says they took everyone and then asked questions later.
They just treated us like we were nothing.
Patricia Fisher says she came out to the hallway of her apartment complex on the corner of 75th and South Shore Drive in her nightgown around 10 Monday night, only to find ICE agents yelling police.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face. They asked my name and my date of birth and asked me did I have any warrants, and I told them no, I didn't.
She says she was then handcuffed and released around 3 a.m. Fisher says she was told if anyone had any kind of warrant out for them, even if it was unrelated to immigration, they would not be released. Citizen App video shows the chaotic scene overnight. Neighbors tell us there were dozens of ICE agents. Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they heard several flashbangs go off.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. That's all I kept asking. Where's the morality? Where's the human? One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
Watson says budget trucks and military-style vans were used to separate parents from their children. Other neighbors say they saw agents destroying property to get in the building.
And they had a big 15-inch chainsaw with a round blade on it, cutting this fence down. We're under siege. We're being invaded by our own military.
The FBI did confirm this morning that they did help the U.S. Border Patrol carry out a targeted immigration enforcement operation in this area, and they say they have been supporting these efforts at the direction of the U.S. Attorney General.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. Verse 48. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. All praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and there is no God beside them. As it is written, to the Lord belongeth the issues of death. It is also written, shall there be evil done in the city, and the Lord have not done it. And a double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit. Salutations to the elect. And through those men, the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, we understand these things. We ought to understand these things, as they've been out there for decades. All right, and even men before them. And Deuteronomy 28 and 15 on down goes into what will befall us had we not fallen and followed the instructions given to us by Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. And as we are yet this day in our captivity under our enemies, these laws follow us. The scriptures say how these curses shall overtake us and they shall pursue us until we be destroyed. And You know, this message is a solemn message. It has always been a solemn message. You might call it fear-mongering or hate speech, but we call it a warning sent forth from Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. And it's here, right? The judgment of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai is here. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, the elder apostles Tahar specifically, you know, he names every year, and this year was the year of death, destruction, and deliverance, right? And the portion of the destruction has definitely played itself out. All right, and every year, you know, the apostle is on point, right? So you Jakes, especially those over there in Chicago, you know, as I was meditating, or as I was watching the brother's video, it had me think of how, you know, you had the one Jake warning Trump not to come to Chicago because they got switches, and not realizing that that's going to make them come down having even more wrath, you know. And peradventure, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ratazah, allow us to go out there on the highways and hedges tomorrow, just as you have brothers out there tonight. You know, you had brothers in Dallas, Houston, all over Louisiana, Mississippi. Yet and still, no one listens. We out there speaking to ourselves, you know. But hey, Lord willing, we be saved from our works. You know, hey, the hand of the Lord is still out there, but it won't be out there for too long. Right? It's time to ask for mercy of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. And hey, through the Spirit, we had just commemorated the Day of Atonement, where we was begging the Lord for mercy, while at the same time 2/3 of the people that these ICE agents are coming after, you know, have been stuffing their faces, you know, on that very day, just doing all manner of evil. And they can't say they don't know because, hey, brothers all throughout Chicago giving the word for free. This is the book of James, chapter 2, verse 13. For he shall have judgment without mercy that have shewed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. So these people show no mercy. They scoff, they scorn, they do videos. You even had some nigglets, you know, driving through the town, shooting at brothers with the paintball guns. This happened a few years back. So how these devils is going to deal with you is without mercy. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 18, verse 10. Verse 14, rather. He have mercy on them that receive discipline. Now, who are those that receive how do you receive discipline? By listening to the prophets. As a matter of fact, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3. Verse 17. Salakia. Verse 21, actually. Ezekiel 3, verse 21. Actually, let's start at 17. We'll read down. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word of my mouth and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Now, mind you, we just read in verse 17 that the Lord sent Ezekiel to the house of Israel. So when the Lord speaks on the wicked, it's not talking about Esau, Edom at this point. It's talking about the wicked amongst Israel, the wicked amongst blacks, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. If thou warn the wicked, he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, which these people are not. Right? They're going to vote. They're going to write petitions. They're going to march. They're going to do everything but call upon Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah. They're going to do everything. Hell, they'll march past the prophets. They'll march past the prophets. All right? And die for and die begging Esau to accept them, to have mercy, to be a human being. Right? To show some grace, show some morale. But as that Jake woman said, they're going to be like, fuck them kids. And that's just the beginning of sorrows, man. Hey, the more rebellious our people are, the more harder the Lord is going to have to knock on their head. He shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. Again, when a righteous man doth turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because thou hast not given him warning, he shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he hath done shall not be remembered, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Nevertheless, if thou warn the righteous man, and the righteous sin not, and he doth not sin, he shall surely live, because he is warned. Also, thou hast delivered thy soul. And this goes to show you, to the ones that do have an ear to hear, you're known as the righteous. And, you know, there's a reason why the Lord still has us out there. All right? Maybe some more of his elect has to get sealed. Right? But as we're speaking, things are happening. Right? From terror attacks in various places to uproars of the peoples in various places. There's a lot happening. Right? To the dollar going digital. Right? It's so much happening. Hey, the government shut down. Right? So, as we are affectionately known as the prophets of doom, you should put two and two together as nothing but doom and gloom is happening to this place. Right? But hey, the righteous is going to hear, because essentially the Lord wanted him to hear, and the simple pass on and are punished. Right? So let's go back to Sirach 18, Shalakia, 18:17. No, 18 and 14. He have mercy on them that receive discipline. Oh, another precept just came to mind. Proverbs 1 and 31, 32. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me, right? How do you hearken unto Yahweh? How do you hearken unto the words? Well, you hearken unto the teachers. Shall dwell safely and shall be quiet from fear of evil. So the Lord said that we got to believe in it. So he have mercy on them that receive discipline. All right. And that's us. All right. Praying, fasting, being abashed for the error of our ways. It says, and that diligently seeketh after his judgments. And that's why we always going into the scriptures as we see what's going on in the earth. Right? We looking at the earth and we comparing it to what the Lord said. Hey, and that builds our faith. You know? It says, jumping down to verse 20, before judgment examine thyself, and in the day of visitation thou shalt find mercy. So essentially, the overwhelming sentiment in these times is going to be mercy. Like she said, where's the morale? You know, you would think with kids you would have some type of compassion. They're just kids. They don't know what's going on. They haven't done anything wrong. It says mercy most commonly refers to compassion or leniency shown to someone who is in one's power or who deserves punishment, essentially without withholding punishment or harm out of kindness. You know? And pretty much the punishment on the meanest level have been withheld for the longest time. Hell, brothers are still out here. You know? And so when you look up that the phrase last call for alcohol, right? It says literal. The phrase is a specific announcement made in a bar, club, or restaurant that serves alcohol. It means final opportunity to order, a final warning, the end of the evening. All right? So it says the bar is about to stop serving alcoholic drinks for the night, usually because it is nearing the state of local, legally mandated closing time. Right? And wisdom is known as like drink. You know, the wisdom, all right, it's known as drink. All right, so this is Isaiah 29:9. Stay yourselves in wonder, cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For the Lord hath poured upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and hath closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, hath he covered. Right? So pretty much this is I guess you would call it a metaphor, right? For those that don't have the understanding of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. They are drunken with the philosophies of pretty much of that which is outside of the scriptures. You know, the philosophies of man, philosophies of Satan, philosophies of wickedness. Right? And then it goes on to describe everything it goes on to describe the actions of a man that is actually drunken. Right? It says they're drunken but not with wine. So how else could they be drunken? They're drunken off the philosophies of wickedness, off the ways of wickedness. You know, the way you're going to and fro. You know, you can't make right judgment. You know, you can't walk straight. You're all over the place. All right. So again, you know, this is usually used in a bar or venue setting for, you know, the last call for alcohol, but in a spiritual sense, it's the last call for the wisdom and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. The wisdom and knowledge, rather, of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. So it says a final warning. Hey, and the prophets are like bartenders. You know? Not that we give you anything mixed. You know, everything here is straight. If you're in the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Right? But soon enough, hey, like the scriptures say, how the Lord is going to make our tongues cleave to the roof of our mouth. Right? And then you're going to be searching. You're going to be thirsty. Searching, you know, for a liquor store that's open. So it says, and by liquor store, of course, I mean the camps. All right? It says, it is a courtesy warning to patrons that they have a limited amount of time to order one last drink. Now, you think what all these devils is doing, that they're going to continue to allow us to be on the highways and hedges, feeding you with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding? Right? How are they going to get you to comply to the NWO, you know, if we're telling you the evilness thereof? Can't be. So these, you know, and the scriptures say in Amos 8 that there should be a famine of the word. The end of the evening, right? And the scriptures say what? The night is far spent. It says it signals that the establishment is preparing to close, and patrons should begin wrapping up their social activities and preparing to leave. All right. It reminds me of 2nd Ezra 14. All right. Haste thee to flee from these times, for yet greater evils than thou hast seen shall be done hereafter. You know? And soon enough, motherfuckers is going to start getting executed. They're not going to be asking no questions. You know? You ain't going to have time to do an interview because you're going to be laying in a ditch somewhere. So it says metaphorical meaning. It says, outside of a drinking establishment, last call is used as an idiom to refer to a final chance, the end of a period. Right? And we know, you should know, this is a time to mourn. All right? Which means what? The end of the party. All right? Hey, the scriptures say, roughly paraphrase, I know it's in Ecclesiastes, like after after laughter, the heart is again made bitter, something to that extent. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm not going to kill myself trying to look for it. But it says, the last opportunity to take action, seize an opportunity or make a decision before it is too late. It says, the end of a period, it can signal the imminent end of any particular period, event, or endeavor. The deadline for applying for the grant is tomorrow. This is your last call for alcohol if you want to submit your paperwork. Right? Because here's the thing. How you going to know who to call on? How you going to know the actions, the steps to take, to receive a mercy? Because, hey, another thing I forgot to mention is that this is the truth. This is a specific drink. You can't just go to the bar and ask for any drink. This is a specific drink. And hey, for the elect, they're going to taste this specific drink and fall in love with it, while others are going to find it distasteful. So with that, I ended there with that, Shalom to the elect.